Hi everybody, this is Diane. I've been working on some ephemera for the Renaissance journals that I talked about in the previous video. And oh my goodness, you guys, I went back and looked through fabrics and trims and metal pieces, and I found a bunch that will go well with these Renaissance journals. But I also remembered that I had a collection of things, a box. You know, you've seen my themed collections, and this had grown big enough that it's in a box instead of a plastic envelope. And I forgot about that, so I pulled that out, and oh my goodness. So I'm just going to show you as quickly as I can some of those things, so you'll know what we have to work with. And then hopefully I'm going to do some ephemera here. I've been working on it before I turned the camera on. So here are some of the trims that I pulled. I've got beads and gold, metallic, and fringe, and metallic trims. The Renaissance era, as far as the nobility, was opulent, but for folks like me, I wouldn't be dealing with things like this. But aren't they pretty? This trim right here. I just have this little bit left of this trim. Some of this was in my stash of boho trim and fabric. That reminds me of a tapestry. I think it's on the card backwards. Yep. Yeah, I think that's the way it's supposed to go. So there's a lot. Now, of course, I'm not going to use everything that I have pulled, but I wanted to see my options. And fabrics. I got into my boho stash of fabrics too. I think this is pretty cool. I like the squares. It kind of reminds me of armor. This is part of an outfit. Someone sent me a cut-up sari in a Happy Mail. So that's what some of these pieces are. This one too. Isn't that beautiful? And then some, I like that. That reminds me of the Renaissance or medieval period. And this could be, I think it goes this way. Maybe. Oh, I don't know. You could go either way. This is beautiful. Tapestry or upholstery fabric. Look at that one. So pretty. So I've got lots of fabrics, if I use fabrics, which I think I have to because I have so many nice ones. And you're hearing me drop my stuff on the floor to get it out of my way. I'm not going to go through all of these, but look at all the metal stuff I pulled. Things like this are vintage. And that. I've got pieces of old jewelry that I got in a bag full of stuff at the flea market. This was from a craft store, but I mean, when I gasped when I found this. I thought, that is perfect. Might go on a cover or on the spine. That would be so pretty. Whoops. That would be so pretty on the spine. Oh, and by the way, remember in the last video, yesterday's video, I said that my floor lamp didn't work. And then later on, yesterday, this is pretty. It's got a stone on the back. Like a pretty little charm. But you can see I've got lots of metal stuff in there. I just, without thinking of it, clicked that light on and it came on. So I don't know what the deal was with that. But it's working and I'm grateful. I did pull some scrapbook paper. I'm not going to go through all that right now, but I did find some scrapbook paper that has a suitable design for Renaissance. If I decide, I will coffee dye some of that, and I can use it for making ephemera too. But I wanted to go through what's in this box with you. I have this box, so or this book, I mean. I decided that I kind of decided that I might make one of the books more medieval and one more Renaissance. And I'm going to talk about what they are, the medieval period and the Renaissance period. I don't know if it'll be in this video, but I will talk about it in the course of this series. So this would be in the medieval period, and I'm not sure how much of this I would use because this was written for kids and some of the illustrations look like they're written for kids, but some of them would be great. That's a shield. These look like they were taken from medieval times. So that would be nice. And some of these, there's lots of things in here I could use. I thought I saw, look at the falcon. That's pretty cool. This I could use. Thought I saw like a part of a suit of armor photograph that would have been good. I don't want to take too much time, but I think I am already. Oh, there's a minstrel. He's cute. Maybe a little too cute. There. I could use that. But something like that I just think looks maybe a little too young. Young and fresh, and I don't know. Maybe it's not the look I'm going for. But I have some in there I can use. I had a lot of book pages, and I had already cut from some of them. That beautiful tapestry piece. This was off of a dust jacket from a book about costume over the centuries. Some art. I love this tapestry piece. This came out of a kid's book. And these pages came out of that book about costume. Middle Ages, Gothic period. So these will be great. I like these. And this says Renaissance Italian fashions. And this is Renaissance German fashions. There's Henry VIII. Spanish fashions. And this must have been from a history book. Oh, I've been collecting these things for a while, so as I take books apart, if I find images that would go with this theme, I just put them in here. So I had medieval and Renaissance mixed together. This is King Arthur. And I got a book not too long ago from the thrift store about Queen Elizabeth I, and she's during the Renaissance period. So I have a lot of images. I can just use these pages as pages in the book. Details of portraits, some heraldry, the fly leaves, and pages from another, I think, yeah, costume book. There's more. I can't show you every detail. I just kind of wanted to show you what I have to work with. Once again, it's a bit overwhelming, but it just shows me, I like these. It just shows me that I need to make some more. From another fashion book. This was written for kids. Another fashion book. I used to find a lot of these books that were costume through the ages, and I just love them. So lots of book pages. It's another costume. Lots of pages from another book on costume fashion. In addition to the book about Queen Elizabeth, not sure what these are. I had gotten a book about medieval period, and this was written for kids, I think. But there's so much in here. Photographs. They're photographs more than illustrations, and so they're not childlike. So I can use some of these descriptive pieces on scrolls, and I can use, I like this, I can use these as pages in the book. I spent quite a bit of time last night cutting pieces. Look at this. I did that Marguerite Miller prompt collage, and heraldry was one of the prompts, and I didn't have anything. But I did. I just didn't know I had something. Look at all that. So I used this is the Code of Chivalry. I think I'm going to have to include that somehow in the book that I make about the medieval period. So you can see, I can use the Queen Elizabeth pages for the Renaissance and these pages for medieval. These are the last pages that I have left of the Once Upon a Time scrapbook paper, and I think they would all go, well, this could be Renaissance and the knight could be medieval. And then I cut up, like I said, I cut up a bunch of stuff. Photographs, things that I could cut out in a square, and then things like that. So I spent a lot of time last night cutting. Look at all that. They're quite nice. It looks like Noah's Ark on that. I have a couple of things from a dictionary, children's dictionary. So I'm not sure what that was. Oh, tippet, neck and shoulders, scarf for the neck and shoulders with ends hanging down in front. She's wearing a tippet. And then these knights, tilting. I have a stamp. I'll look through my stamps to see if I have more. And I'm not sure where I got these. They are in a different language, so someone sent them to me in a Happy Mail. These images. Images of the Crusades, maybe. That would be medieval times. I mean the medieval period. I have one card, one stationery piece with this Florentine design. It doesn't open, but isn't that beautiful? And this card, this is part of a famous tapestry. Hunting dogs. Detail from the unicorn defends himself, the fourth tapestry of the series, The Hunt of the Unicorn. And I also got these in a Happy Mail quite a long time ago, and I love these cards. Various artists, but a lot of them are Rossetti. I had to peek because I forgot. I mean, I knew it yesterday, but you know how my brain is nowadays. I had some fabric pieces in here. This is a knit. Someone sent these to me, but it's knights and a dragon. And more heraldry, some shields, and just little pieces of tapestry. I got a bunch of playing cards. There's one of these. And there's a bunch of these. They say Lancelot. It's a 15th century woodcut. And got a few of this one. And these came from a game called 5 Crowns. And this is also from a 15th century woodcut. And I have a few of my kings and queens left. I thought these cards were so pretty. And then these are a recent find. I got them this summer at an estate sale. So really nice playing cards. And these are just some cards that I think I got in a Happy Mail. And I got 2 bookmarks. Probably, I don't know where I picked them up. And some cards. These are from Masterpiece games. Two different versions. But they're both from the Masterpiece game, but just different ages. Same picture. And then these cards came off of something that I cut. I think I picked these up at my library. Yeah, like this. I got this card at the library. Yep, that's where they came from. And there's that same picture. I've got some more, some digitals, but I'm not going to use these digitals. These were already printed from the last time I did Renaissance. And I'm not going to use these because I am focusing on Lorna's digitals, and I've added Mrs. Cogs, so I don't want to add more. So, it's going to take some work to figure out what I'm doing here. So I'm just taking my time and making some ephemera and trying to wrap my brain around everything, I guess. So let's make some ephemera. I can show you what I've done. All right. First of all, I finished one of these that we started in the last video. Here it is. So I just rubbed some gold paint around the edges of each of the pieces. And this is a Mrs. Cogs image, and this is one of Lorna's manuscript papers, and they're called, I think I called them Days of Illumination, but it's the Time of Illumination. And then this is one of my fancy papers from Joann's. And I cut some more since then. Oh, I was going to add an element to this. So let's do that. Just add that. I was thinking about putting an eyelet in here and dangling this beautiful blue charm off the eyelet, and then putting this as a tuck spot at the bottom of the book so that this would hang out of the book. But I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, I do want to, but my pages don't normally extend all the way down to the bottom of the book, so I'm not sure how that would hang. I think I will just glue that little filigree piece on there. So while I do that, let me get my notes. I got one page. It's not like I have a page full of notes, but I just have little papers that I was writing stuff down about the medieval period and the Renaissance period so I could share them with you. And now I've misplaced the piece that has dates on it. I mean, it should be right with this. It was a minute ago. Too much stuff on my table. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, I knew that the medieval period came before the Renaissance, but I didn't know exactly the time frame that historians credit to each era, and I didn't know how much overlap there was. It's not like one day all of a sudden the medieval period was over and it's time for the Renaissance. They morph into each other, and there's some overlap. So roughly, the medieval period lasted roughly 1,000 years, and it started at the fall of Rome. And medieval, I did not know this, means Middle Ages. I've heard it called the Middle Ages, but that's what the word medieval means. Medi is middle, and Ev is age. So pertaining to the Middle Age period of time is called medieval. So that was interesting. And it was from about 500 AD to between 1400 and 1500 AD. And the Renaissance period, what I read on Google said it started about 1300. So there was at least 100 years overlap. And the Renaissance, some of the famous names of the Renaissance period are Da Vinci, Descartes, Galileo, Copernicus, Chaucer, Dante, Machiavelli, Milton, Shakespeare, Botticelli, Raphael, and Michelangelo. And there were more. I just wrote down those. And of course Queen Elizabeth and other political figures. And by the early 17th century, the Renaissance gave way to the Age of Enlightenment. So there you have it. So some of the designs that could go for either period, there's a good reason for that. They overlapped. So again, I used a scrapbook paper. This is a thinner paper. And used my dies. I have various sizes of this shape and cut out. This is one of Lorna's papers. And Mrs. Cogs' image. This is one of the Da Vinci sketches. I think we'll just glue this together. Did you like your history lesson? I always loved history. I find history fascinating. I'm not good at remembering numbers, so dates are hard for me. I'm not good at remembering names anymore. I used to be. I think my problem with names is I need to see the face. And people that I talk to on the internet, people that send me happy mails and stuff, I have no idea what they look like. And so I think that's part of the reason why I have trouble remembering names. I just took this piece of wax paper. Oh, I've got paint on the back of that. And put some gold paint on it. And I have this little sponge. I just dip it in the paint and brush it around the edge. And I'm going to put this image on there. I already put the gold paint on that. And I'll add this filigree piece. think I've mentioned the coffee shop that my friend was opening, and they've been working on it for a long time. They bought this big building, and it's a 3-story building, and it's an old historic building in the town where my son lives, which is pretty close to me. And they turned the top floor into an apartment that they could rent, so they'd get some income coming in. So they did that. It's been rented for quite a while. And then the second story is going to be an antique store, and the bottom floor, the ground floor, is a coffee shop. So they concentrated on that next. And they finally were able to open. They have fresh ground coffee. Nobody else in this valley has fresh ground. And in a variety of flavors, of course. They have tea, loose leaf tea, and hot cocoa, including cocoa bombs. And they make their cocoa with milk, which I like. I do not like cocoa that's mixed with water. Aren't these pretty? They'll make nice little tuck spots. This one is not as sturdy as this one because the paper is thinner, but with the layers on, I think it'll be fine. I did cut a couple more layers of, thought I would try this squarish one. But I don't need to do that right now because you've already seen me make this one. Another thing I did was, I said I wanted to make some little envelopes with my filigree paper. I'm sorry, not filigree. Florentine paper. So I did. I used my envelope punch board to make these. So I'm just going to glue them. And maybe I'll cut up some of Lorna's paper to make little cards to put inside them. I could also use Lorna's papers to make these envelopes. And I will probably do that too. I don't want to do these on camera because, especially with this printed paper, the way you have to do it with the envelope punch board is line them up at a certain mark depending on your measurements, and then you have to turn it and line up the mark that you creased with your score tool and line that up at a certain place. And I have a very hard time seeing that score mark on a printed paper, so I have to really get my face close to it. So I don't want to do that on camera. But you can make envelopes any way that you know how to make envelopes. You could just, experiment folding a paper. You could take an envelope of the size that you want and open it out and trace around it. Make yourself a template. This one ended up having the point hang down just a little bit, so I folded it again up higher so there's a little bit of a gap, but it works better. So 2 envelopes done, and I'll probably make some more with these papers of Lorna's. I think they'll make pretty envelopes. Another thing that I wanted to do was make envelopes that would go sideways on the page. I showed you the sketch yesterday, like that. And again, I can use the Florentine paper and the digital paper, so we're going to do both. So that's what I did here. I took some of my Florentine papers, and I wanted to use the white shipping tags that I have. The tags are a little over 2 1/4 by about 4 3/4. But I just cut my papers about 4 1/2 this way by 3 1/2. But some of the papers were not 3 1/2 inches wide. sampler pieces that I got. And they weren't quite that wide, so I just folded them in skinnier. So that's all I did, was I cut the rectangle to the right size. I didn't really measure it. I didn't measure the tag. I just laid it on my paper and marked it where I wanted to cut it. And then I took my piece and just folded in the edges and folded in the bottom, and then I opened up the bottom and cut, and we'll do that. So that's what I've done here, and these folded in parts are a little bit narrower than these because this paper was narrower and I still wanted to make sure that this tag would fit in there. So once you have your folds in, you can open it out and you can see there's a little square right here, and all it's going to do is create some bulk if you leave it like that. So I go in at an angle from one end to the corner fold and over here and cut that piece out. If you just cut that square out, it would still create a little bit of tension between the two flaps. So if you angle them out, there's no competition there. And then when I go to put it on a page, I will just put glue on the flaps and glue it right to the page like that. And then the tag can slide in. I can embellish these if I want to. I certainly want to let as much of these papers show as I can, but I might add a little bit of embellishment, and then of course I can decorate the tag. So I thought at first I thought I could have 3 different colors on a page, and I could, but then I decided to make 3 of each color, and then when I come to decorate the page, I can decide then what would look better, 3 of one color or 3 of different colors. Let's try making one with, or some, with this paper. I didn't trim off the little white border here because that will be taken up when I fold it. This is one of Lorna's digital papers. And I'll just open it up and cut off those corners. That's pretty, and I'll probably ink around it. Yeah, that's going to look really pretty on a page with 3 envelopes lined up on the page. And maybe I could mix and match the Florentine with the digital. I'll just make all the envelopes and then figure it out when I get there. Another thing I did was I took some of my gold paper, my metallic paper, and I cut out some things, and it's pretty shiny. So I got out my bottle of paint that I've never used, and got it from Hobby Lobby, Folk Art Antiquing Medium, and this is Cocoa Bean. And I didn't know how it would work on this, look at this, glossy paper. So no, it's not working. It just rubs right off still. Maybe I just have to let it dry. I was just trying to dull it down a little bit. So I'm going to have to try something else with that. But I see my battery light is flashing, and I have about 10 minutes before the 44-minute time when my camera might shut off. But I did want to show you this before we go. I showed you a diagram on my notebook that I wanted to try putting a piece of mica over an image with some eyelets. And let me show you the mica tiles. I just looked up mica tiles on Amazon and ordered them. and they weren't that expensive. I don't remember how much they were, but I was surprised they weren't that expensive. Mica is a mineral, and apparently I ordered medium size pieces because this says medium, but it does come in a variety of sizes, so some are kind of big like that, and I could cut it smaller or break it smaller. And it says it's multi-layered, 100% natural, heat-resistant, multi-layered, transparent, acid-free, and archival. But you get some really odd shapes like that one, and some more uniform shapes like that. So they're just fun to play with, and I've only used one once, but I thought I should get them out and use them again. So this piece was, I didn't do anything to it. This was the shape that it was in, and I was looking for a piece that would go well with this image. So I liked this shape on it, and I cut a piece of cardstock to fit it so it could be a pocket. And I used eyelets to hold it on there. So that will be for the larger book, and then the smaller book maybe can have this. And this is a more uniform piece, and I kind of wanted it to be more irregular, so I tried to break a little piece off to make it jagged, but it doesn't work the way that I was hoping it would. I cut this little piece off. It says it's multi-layered, and when I cut it, I could see that it peeled. So here's, I think this is the piece I took off of here, and it does peel. So that's pretty neat. You can just play around with this stuff and do what you can do. So I'm going to use this piece on it and just kind of tilt it so it's not just a rectangle on it. If I tilt it, it might make it look a little more irregular and jagged. So I'm going to tape this down into the center so it will stay put. I think I wanted the dark part at the top. I tend to work down at the bottom of my table, and then I get out of camera for you. And then just put this piece of mica on. So it's going to make a little noise. There's my metal plate, my hammer, the eyelet setter, and the hole punch, and the eyelets. So I'm just going to start with putting an eyelet at the top in the center. Dump these out because I have a hard time getting them out of the box. I have found that getting my nails done with that gel, or not the gel, the powder dip, they do layer after layer, so it makes my nails thicker, and I just have a hard time picking things up. I don't want the eyelet, I want the hole puncher. Another thing I found was that by punching, or yeah, using the eyelet, the hole puncher, I'm going to pound. The mica, of course, is in there, and I have to remove it after every punch because I did 2 punches with it, and then I had a hard time getting the mica, getting the circles out because the mica it doesn't bend, you know, and it just didn't want to come out, so I had to unscrew it. I got it out, but it's much easier to do it each time. Oh, now I poked it down in there. There we go. The paper's out, the mica is still in there. There we go. So multiple layers of mica come out because this is multi-layered, and it just splits apart. So I put the eyelet in there. I had a hard time flipping it over and having the eyelet stay in place, so I just put the plate on it and flip it like that. Took me a few times to figure that out. There, one down. And I won't do the whole thing because I just don't want to make that much noise, but I will make sure the corners of my paper are down, probably the corners of the mica over here. So I just put random pieces on. And I think that makes a cool pocket. And I will punch the corner, round the corners. I'm going to put ink on that around the corners of this and see how it looks. Some of the pieces I'm edging with gold, and some I'm grunging up with vintage photo. I think that makes a cool pocket. And I can add more embellishments if I want to. Some trim or some of those metal pieces. So these are fun. Probably I'll just put one in each journal because I want the mica to be available for other projects. But I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't that expensive. But I can't remember, so it might be relative. Alright, I think that's all I'm going to do today. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. And I'm going to keep on playing today. And I'll come back when I feel like I have something to share with you. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today. And I hope you were crafting along. Oh, I'm going to finish this, so I need these out. And I'm anxious to see how this journal ends up, because really, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what it's going to look like. We'll find out together. I will see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.